So around like May of 2020, I made a big video saying why I left Discord and my intentions with the app going forward, which was to no longer use it in any form or context. And I ended up supplementing my socializing with one person through IRC. So all of the social interaction that I once had on Discord, I just got on IRC with that one guy. And honestly, when I look back, I remember that time period as like the prime of my life. Like, I was watching anime every single day to the point where I was finishing entire shows in a single day. I was finishing a show plus a movie. I was crazy with it back then. I was playing a lot of video games, spending a lot of time introspecting. I was making a lot of YouTube videos, and in general I was a lot calmer because back then, and thankfully I don't have this issue anymore, but back then I used to get really angry. I would get triggered, literally triggered, by arguments with people, and I would become so overcome with rage that I would feel the need to make my points known and to argue them as well as possible to quote-unquote win. Of course, as you get even just a little bit older, you quickly realize that winning and losing don't matter that much. Not to say that I don't still get possessed by a lesser version of these feelings sometimes. I think everybody does. But in general, you come to learn that winning and losing don't really matter, and what matters more is what a conversation can teach you. You treat each individual conversation like an opportunity to learn something. And at the time, I think I was so preoccupied with proving myself and being right that I did not properly understand that underlying reality, which is this shit is not that big of a deal, and these conversations should be treated as an opportunity to improve oneself, to learn something, calm down. That's what I didn't understand. But because I didn't understand that, arguing on the internet and all of the opportunities I would see to argue on the internet made me very upset and anxious and angry all the time. So as soon as I let go of all of that by just removing myself from situations where I could get into those arguments, I felt so much better. It was like crazy. I was like in my own little world. Over a month goes by. I don't quite remember how long it was. I'm pretty sure it was multiple months. And I'm doing this and everything's good. And then something crazy happens. I take Seroquel to go to sleep as it was prescribed to me by my doctor, and hydroxyzine to go to sleep as it was prescribed to me by my doctor. And suddenly, my heart starts pounding like crazy. It was beating out of my chest. It felt like little bombs were going off inside of my chest. It was really, really scary. At that time, I had not felt a sensation like that in my chest, aside from one particular instance in which I literally almost died. And so, of course, it was terrifying for me. And I was frantically texting my one friend on IRC, like, holy shit, something's going down. I've gotta get an ambulance. I've gotta go to the hospital. And I ended up getting one after telling my dad what was going on, and I go to the hospital and they check me out, and after a while of just laying in there, I end up falling asleep and the palpitations subside, and they just check me out of the hospital and send me home. And I wait for my dad and then I go home. And in light of that situation, I ended up getting back on Discord because I was like, if I'm gonna have these moments where I'm freaked the fuck out because I'm literally convinced that I'm about to die due to some medicine that I took or something like that, then I ought to just be in contact with my friends. This one friend I have on IRC is not going to be able to calm me down through text chat at all times. They're literally on the other side of the world. Our hours are separate. That's not going to be doable. So I ended up making the decision to get back on there because I made the value judgment, the mental assessment, that it was more worthwhile to have those people around if I ever got super anxious and freaked out like that again than it was to leave everybody behind just because I wanted to avoid conflict, which would draw me into very stressful debates. And basically ever since then, I've been on Discord. I mean, I've used it a lot less frequently during certain periods of time. I think there have been a couple other times since then when I dropped the app for a month or multiple months, but I barely use it nowadays. And the reason for that primarily is because I live with my spouse, and all of the social engagement I could ever possibly want, I get from her. And so it becomes difficult to actually get myself to speak with other people because my social energy is like a meter. It's like a bar that's at the top of my proverbial screen, and it goes down with the more that I engage socially. And so being around her all the time makes it go down and down and down. And then by the end of the day, I don't even feel enough energy to speak with my friends. So I rarely speak with my friends these days, even though I really want to. But that's just how the meter for me works. That's how my energy levels as far as socializing is concerned work. Even though I'm better at it than ever before, I'm more friendly than ever before, I'm a better person than I ever have been. But that reality is the same. The reality that I am very introverted and generally need my alone time by the end of the day. It becomes hard to fit people in, but it's nothing like before. At the very least, where I was just mad all the time. I feel so much more mellow than I used to, where the time that I do spend with my friends when I do fit them in, I'm not an asshole anymore. Like, I'm not just treating people like shit because I get mad, which is really nice. But that was why I left Discord for that longest stint in the first place, and why I chose someone who I knew that I could engage with intellectually, but who would be mindful of my feelings. That was the person that I chose to keep on IRC just so I would have one friend. I have very, very strong memories of that time, in huge part because of him as well. The chats that we would have every day, telling one another about our days and how they were going, debating about different philosophical concepts, the way that he would get my intellectual muscles moving and growing stronger. Those are really big memories for me. They stand out in my mind and they feel important. You know, they make me feel happy when I recall those things. And that's another big reason why I'm nostalgic for that time, why it stands out in my memory, aside from the fact that I had completely abandoned an app that I had used for a long time. Now, when I actually did get back on there, I did not allow myself to have it on my phone for several months. So that was the rule that I had. I was like, okay, I can have it on my computer, but not on my phone. If I'm gonna use it, I have to physically walk over to my chair, log on to my computer, and be on there if I want to use the app, so it doesn't become a distraction when I'm doing other things. And that worked for multiple months, and then my anxiety started getting really, really bad again, and I put it on my phone so I could call somebody on the phone if I was like paralyzed on the floor by a panic attack or some other form of severe anxiety, like my heart palpitations or something. That broke the cycle there. But the good thing is, I don't actually have to limit myself from having this app anymore. You know, I would take this cold turkey approach during those years because I thought it was the only way. But even prior to starting to live with my spouse, I used the app substantially less than I used to. I wasn't on it anywhere near as much, and I was not constantly checking it in a way that intruded on things that I was trying to focus on. I could actually focus on the things that I was doing. And that's become even more the case as time has gone on. When I'm watching a movie, I don't check my phone. When I'm playing a video game, I don't check my phone. I don't have this incessant need to always be looking at this thing the way that I once did. And that just naturally corrected itself over time. I don't know precisely what the cause is, but if I had to guess, I think it's a reduction in anxiety. I think it's having someone around physically with whom I can speak to. I think it is having lots of fulfilling activities that get my mind going, and I don't know what the exact cause is, but whatever it is, the cause of this change, it doesn't really matter because the problems that I was attempting to evade or ameliorate have simply dissipated. Those problems are no more. They naturally worked themselves out over time. As much as I hate the fact that Discord is absolutely proprietary, and the fact that it is a non-encrypted messaging application, I still have it, and I use it in a limited capacity to keep contact with the people that refuse to go to any other platform. And that isn't problematic for me because I have naturally changed over time. Just naturally, I found myself not using the application constantly the way that I used to. I've worked out the problems in my personality that ended up leading to me having disdain for other people, and in general, I just seem to be doing better. But before I was doing better, I ended up going on wacky journeys inside of my room, like the one that I told you about in this video. Some of them I have particular nostalgia for,